Hello, something I'd like to share with you, an experience I had yesterday. I sat exactly where I am sitting right now yesterday afternoon, and I happened to look up at the window. And I thought at first it was something on the inside of the glass, and it resembled the moon, but like an orange colour and very small. And I looked at this process of elimination. What am I looking at here? No explanation I can find as to what I'm seeing. Could it be a reflection off of something outside? So I have a look. Nothing to be seen. It looked initially like this, almost like a circle. It was just two-dimensional and on the inside of the glass. As I stood up, I didn't see it cross the frame to the other glass, but I noticed it then in the other glass. And as I observed it, it's a bit like when you see the floaters on your eyes, and the more you look at them, they seem to escape and travel out of view, and that's exactly what this thing did, and then just seemed to disappear. So afterwards I sat down and thought, what have I just been shown? Because clearly it was not something of this reality, not with a physical form. That it appeared from my perspective to be on the inside of the glass and then on the outside of the glass, I really don't know what I was seeing. But it resembled like an average picture of the moon, quite opaque and sort of orange in colour. So from that I sat here with my eyes shut, and I was very much aware that I was observing what I was seeing and how realistic what was shown in the mind's eye. It was like a blue ball. To give you the closest approximation of shade, think of Thomas the Tank Engine, that sort of shade of blue. Unlike what was shown in the external, this opaque moon-like object, miniature moon object, this thing resembled more like a pool or snooker ball, very solid, almost reflecting light, like it had got a glazed surface. And I watched this thing, and it went from blue to red, very vivid colour, probably about the same shade as the buffer beams of Thomas the Tank again. So we've gone from blue to red. Then this thing seemed to sort of almost roll back, revealing that it was behind this circle of blackness. And then I was shown what resembled something like an iris of an eye, and like an orange brown with very much like a web structure to it. Then that vanished. Then I saw what seemed like a vertical line of white light with another line coming out of it that formed almost like a white cube, very intense brightness, and then almost like a red and blue, I don't know whether you want to call it plasma or how electricity is seen or depicted with those flashes, say from wires as they hit the ground and make contact and create an earth, and you get that flash. And it was very much like that. And again I was shown this blue circle or ball, which then went red, which then seemed to disappear, but then it came back and it was more a greenish blue. Now again, I don't know what I was being shown. I listened to Jay Dreamer's video last night on, I think it was the Hopi prophecies about this blue ring, this blue light connected with the sun. Maybe that had something to do with it. I really don't know, but I'm certainly not going to concern myself and worry about what was shown to me. It's just I accept I was shown something and I was observing it. And I feel that that will unravel, and maybe I will be given more to that. But I thought I'd throw that out there for your thoughts and comments on this, what was possibly being shown. Something that resembled an eye, something that went from... There was two distinct parts to this. You've got the external that I could see and knew it wasn't part of this external reality, and yet I could see it. It resembled a very opaque, sort of orange colour miniature moon. Then I saw this circle, or almost like a snooker ball in blue, that then went to red, that then seemed to roll back in what looked like a pupil of an eye, and then reappeared from almost like created from a plasma, and then changed to a greenish blue. What I take from this is it was showing me creation of New Earth, maybe a reset. Interesting anyway, but I thought I'd just share that with you. Observation is a wonderful thing, not just for things like that, because it is very distinct from something you imagine or create in your mind. And you are very much aware that you are of your surroundings, you are aware that you're basically having a conscious vision, and you're very much aware that it's not you. So how do we explain any of this? Now, I don't know about you, but the word matrix has changed in my sort of feeling towards that word as being purely computer and more of a construct. Another word you could use for this reality is simulation, but these words have an association with them which do not suit everybody, and you have your own ideas of what those words mean. So maybe biocomputer, there is some sort of clear interaction that goes on, but also look at the patterns. I was considering, if you look at nature, taking man out of the equation, how it seems to just go on a continuous cycle of birth and growth, and then decay, and then death, and then this cycle continues, and it is renewed by generations, and just seems to happily go along. And if you observe animals, anything that is not a plant, and i.e. fixed, rooted in earth, but something that is mobile, so that could be an insect, or a bird, or an animal, or a fish, how there is this instinctive thing. Take, for example, a horse. A baby horse will know to stand up straight away. The human, on the other hand, is very, very different. It is pretty much useless. The closest you get to that is with new babies. The instinction is to try and find a teat to feed, to take in breast milk. But apart from that, there is no immediacy to learning to stand or anything, as you see with nature. Probably the closest to the human in that respect would be the bird, how it starts off confined to the nest until it has grown to sufficient size and then learns to fly. In mammals, maybe a kitten is similar in that it has to learn hunting skills from its parents and is not adept to the outside world, catching flies or mice or rodents or whatever as it will do as it gets older. But humanity is pretty much an odd one out. So maybe in an earlier time humanity was very different, and with this increase in intellect, it has been at the expense of the instinctive physical side of us, and therefore the process takes longer. But I feel also that we have this power to create inside us, and it is more than just that distinction between the animal world and the human world, of how the animals are readily more instinctive and almost straight away know to stand up, for example, in the case of a horse or a giraffe or some four-legged animal. Whereas a human baby, for the first quite a few months, well, years really, first few years, is very codependent on a guardian or parent. But I'd like you to also just imagine this sort of perspective on things. Imagine you are the player of a computer game, and you are controlling a character, we'll call it Mario, and you have gone through level 1. Now, would it be fair to say that that character will have any idea about anything that has happened in level 1, or is able to give you any indication of what is to come in level 2? Likewise, when Mario, the marriage of the I and the O, the 1 and the 0, you could say, when it enters into level 2, does it have a memory of what it went through in level 1? How prepared is that Mario for level 2? But as the controller of that character, you will have a memory of the journey through level 1. But more critically, and what is carried over, is the experience gained in level 1, which you then improve upon to get through level 2. So it may well be this interaction, as it were, is, as a character in this game, in this reality, is just like the lower self. The higher self, although not separate, feels in a slightly different realm, not in this physical material realm, that is something that is outside of it, but also within it. And maybe that is a clue what this reality and the object of this reality is all about. It is to gain the experience, not hold on to the memories as such, but just to gain the experience and the skills required. Obviously, if you have played the game before, you come in with previous experience, and you can go through level 1 far quicker because you have already done that experience. Maybe this reality is just like that, as I've described it, as you have unlimited rides, and you can keep going round as many times as you like, and you decide how much more you want to bring in to that experience. But we are essentially a part of a one that is fractalized and is given duality. But to return to that one is about gaining experiences to take back, or at least that's the way it would appear to be. I feel that any of the words that we use, like matrix, simulation, whatever you want to call it, are totally inadequate, and they are very much a part of this game. Consider that if you are a part, an individualized droplet of a creator, but to make that game more interesting, you have put limitations upon what you can do, or at least you have forgotten what you can do. And you also have the limitations of time. So you only have a certain amount of time in which to get through that level. And of course, it comes down to the question, how much free will do we have? There seems to be a distinction that we have a free will within certain parameters, but the physical avatar seems to be on a predetermined course. As an example of this, think of some of these horrific accidents, road traffic accidents, in which people survive. And many will say it's a miracle that they have survived, which in some ways implies that there is a higher force that is actually predetermined everything. But think also what those parameters are. Now, there is a symbol called dividers. It's a well-known symbol used with the set square. Dividers have a double meaning, as in the obvious one is to divide, as in like divide and conquer. But they're also a compass. They are also used to navigate and plot a course for the vessel to navigate its way from A to B for maybe that level of the journey. So you have to consider maybe what some of this symbology is, and do not always make the judgment that something is necessarily evil that is presented to you. It stands to reason in a way that you have a situation where either you have the criminal that is leaving clues and actually wants to get caught, or why else would these secret societies and things be talked about so much? Or are they just decoys? Are they just distractions? Or is there something in the symbology or anything that is presented to you that there is something to be found from it? I'll give you a very, very recent example and a perspective I can give on this. Now, I don't know how common knowledge this is at the moment, but Nigel of Devil's Playground 2 channel, as I understand it, has suffered a heart attack and only has a 50-50 chance of survival. Now, before you start feeling sadness and lack, which is really a sadness that is within you, that feeling is within you. I'm staying very neutral to this. I do not wish Nigel any harm, but often with something like a heart attack, you can be paralysed down one side. So consider, would Nigel want to survive like that, not in full physical health, for example? Also to consider the stress he's probably been under with this trying to get out of China and this bureaucratic problem that's been put in place over, he has an Australian and a UK passport. I hope I'm not talking out of turn here by sharing this information with you. But the positive that may well, there is a potential for this to come out of this when you consider what is discussed as a general sort of awakening of humanity, or a certain percentage of it, that the experiences that we go through seem to reveal more and more. So what if this experience that Nigel is going through, don't automatically look on the negative. It may well be that he is able to pluck something out of, shall we say, something that's outside possibly of this realm, or another part of this realm in what is known as a near-death experience, and able to come back and share that. I cannot say that I know that is what is going to happen. I can certainly put imagination and visualize him saying this on a future video and seeing him in good health. At the end of the day, we all are all responsible for ourselves, and we all have responsibilities from the choices we take. And that pattern, I feel, does not stop with the end of what we call life, when we go into the experience called death. Then this whole aspect of whether you should go into the light. If you look at the pattern with this reality, there is numerous external distractions to draw your attention, to draw your focus, and therefore by getting your attention, you're feeding energy into it by giving it attention. So faced with this going into the white light, if you are faced with ancestors, are they really ancestors? And is that just another distraction to maybe bring you back here? Throughout this spiritual path, as it's called, it is always about taking a step into the unknown. So if you are faced with a white light, I would consider, why is that trying to entice me over there? And yet I can't sense anything anywhere else, but there must be something else there, even though it appears to be an absence of it. And I would feel more inclined to take a step into the unknown, even at that stage. It may well be that that white light is some sort of memory eraser, almost, should we say, like some sort of laser that sort of does a scan of your spirit, and then you're placed into a new body, maybe with a few memories, maybe with all past life memories pretty much white, maybe a little bit of residue left in feeling if they're strong enough. But what if you were to go into the darkness where you can't see what is coming? Because can any of us really see what is coming? From that I mean, if you've had that first experience of, say, a panic attack, and consider how far you've come from there, could you see from that where that would lead? These are all things I feel we need to sort of ponder and weigh up and consider our situation and ways in which we can develop and learn and help each other through these experiences as best we can as we go, and see where it leads. Anyway, that's up to 23 minutes of me just ambling away, just sharing the experience. But yes, please do let me know what you think of this thing that was sort of shown to me, these strange circular things. Interestingly, one seen in the external is more opaque, the one seen in the mind was far more solid, and in many ways seemed a lot more real than the one I could actually observe with the physical eyes. But the only thing I can take from it by the colours that were shown is perhaps that it is indicating a rebirth, maybe a blue shift, red shift, and then creating something that's neutral between the two, creating a new earth perhaps, a new frequency, a new vibration. Let me know what you think in the comments anyway, and it's lovely to hear from you all, and I appreciate if you're still listening to this, and maybe you've had a similar experience over the last day or two. But we're keep positive for Nigel, and whatever the outcome is, and wish him well and wish him a full recovery if he so wishes that. Because I don't want to wish something that he does not wish for himself. But without being able to speak to him at this precise time, I really don't know. But may it be a positive outcome anyway. So I'll end there and say love to you all, and just weigh things up inside yourself. what feels right to you. That is basically the truth. You are in the middle of the truth. Between the T, which represents creator, and the H of the human, you can be stuck in a rut. And of course you are right in the middle of it, and it spells truth. Whatever feels, or how anything feels to you, is the truth, basically. So love to you all, and ta-ta for now.